Welcome back. Joining me in the studio is Omar Al-Kassab, a refugee advocate, motivational speaker and undergrad business student at RMIT. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Firstly, tell us a bit about your public speaking. I actually saw your TED Talk in Canberra.
So at the beginning of early last year, 2016, I started giving talks. It started with giving talks in my local community, in schools, and since the beginning of 2016, I've given about 150 talks.
Whoa.
So that's basically a talk in 3 days, yeah, an average.
What part of Syria are you originally from?
So I come from Homs, which is the third largest city in Syria. Well, it's a very diverse city, so we've got lots of people from ethnic and religious background. Before the war, we were living like together all really well, but we missed that the freedom and democracy thing. So Homs has had some of the largest demonstrations in the country, and it was named then to be named the capital of the revolution. And then it had received a very huge, like a brutal reaction from the government, and it just was leveled.
We were discussing how the war broke out on a political perspective, but can you tell us from the point of a Syrian perspective?
I think how the war broke out is that mainly the ongoing persecution of people and ongoing dictatorship in the country was for a long time, for more than 50 years, under the rule of a dictator, and then his son has filled the Syrian people's hearts with a lot of revolutionary stuff.
Yeah.
And the trigger was, I think the main thing was arresting the kids in the city of Daraa and torturing them. And then the photos were leaked out into the media. And when their parents went for them to ask them for them to be released, they were told to forget about their children. And the protests were not asking them for the removal of the government or anything. They were asking for releasing the kids. But they were faced with brutal reaction and stuff. Torturing kids who are 8, 9, 10 years old is a big thing, you know. No one will be able to accept that. Yeah, I was 17 and I couldn't accept that. So I think the main moment that my family decided we had to leave is when I was arrested. So I participated in the protest at the beginning and I did some humanitarian work. But then I was at the university and I was studying engineering there. And then I was leaving my lecture one day when students stopped me and then they were armed and they took me to a building, and then the military intelligence security came and took me to prison, and I was tortured and my friends were killed. And then I was released with a friend. And that was the moment where my family decided that they had to make the choice of leaving. It's a hard decision to make because the way out of Syria is too dangerous. Sometimes it's better, it's more safer to stay. But they had made the decision because they knew that someone, me or my younger brother, will at the end of this will get killed. So we fled Syria throughout a very dangerous route, and it was 130 days, took us 14 hours to get out of that. You can see all the shelling, and shelling just flies over us and stuff. We almost lost our lives several times to flee,
What were your first impressions of Australia when you arrived?
I remember that my cousin was driving and his son was speaking to me. I felt, this is a time where I have to start working. I'm coming to here, but I can't even speak here.
That must be frustrating.
It was so frustrating. after that's the first day of impression. After that, everyone was so welcoming. I never asked for an interpreter anywhere. I didn't have English, but I just tried to go there, and everyone was like happy that I tried to learn the language.
How did you learn?
I learned English throughout a couple of things, mainly watching Parliament, Question Time. I've been always quite interested in politics in a way, and I wanted to learn a persuasive language, words like sustainability or, you know, but you also learn a lot about economy, about politics, about stuff. You're not only learning English, you're learning English and you're learning other things. And now I'm doing Bachelor of Business, you know, so all the stuff that I've been hearing is beneficial to me. It's like an investment in a way.
Yeah.
But I also started to get engaged in the community. So I joined the Scouts after 2 months of being here, you know, and I had to speak with people. We go camping for 3-4 days, and everything is English. I'm living in an English-speaking life where I get to the end of the day, even if I'm not doing anything, but I feel so tired because I am concentrating the whole day on hearing English and listening to English and trying to understand.
What's Scouts like if you compare it to here in Syria?
So Scouts is a global brotherhood. It's around 42 million people who share the same values. So throughout the war, we worked with some organization, the international community organization. They used to supply food inside Syrians. We used to get a huge amount of food and distribute them into those refugees. Well, unfortunately, we were targeted after a while, and some people from the Scout group were arrested and killed because of that. So that costed us.
So what do you miss the most about Syria?
I think the main thing I miss about Syria is I miss everything about Syria, but mainly the people. You know, I haven't seen my friends for 6-7 years. I haven't seen my relatives for 5 years, 6 years. You know, everything is destroyed. I miss the memories there, but I know that's all nothing compared to the lives that was lost, and the people who died, you know, who you could never see them again. Yeah.
Before we have to wrap up, where do you hope to be in 5 years, and where do you hope for Syria to be in 5 years?
I always hope for Syria to be a free, democratic country under the rule of law, not the rule of a man. If all people contribute, makes it a very good country, and the economy will be really great, and we can build it in a very quick way. Hopefully. Well, I see myself in 5 years. I see myself hopefully as an Australian citizen and proud to be that. I see myself finishing my degree and getting into the financial industry. And I see myself contributing in this country and maybe getting involved in politics in this country. So I have lots of ideas and lots of plans in my brain, but hopefully we'll see how all will go.
Well, I hope all of those things for you.
Thank you very much.
We're unfortunately running out of time, and I really wish we weren't, but thank you so much for coming on and telling us all of that. Thank you for all the work you do. We're lucky to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Stick around. When we get back, we're sharing a few of our favourite travel stories that have been sent in by viewers.